Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Civic Spectrum. Today, I want to take you on a look at just how badly things have been going for Ron DeSantis and who I think will actually take over his spot for the establishment choice, maybe a little bit after Nevada. And we can really see, honestly, what I'm talking about right here as soon as we look at the polling data that we have. Ron hasn't been doing too good since he officially announced. I hear a lot from, people who are Ron DeSantis supporters. They're like, yo, you just gotta wait, you just gotta wait. There's gonna be that bump after his announcement. And I don't know if they meant that the bump would be, in a straight downward trajectory, but that's where it's been. All the other candidates have really leveled off. I don't think any of them are really. There's a few of them that have maybe hit their ceiling, but I think there's a few that you could say can go way higher than what they are right now. And when we really look at these polls, it shows us as well that DeSantis and his campaign have not really been running to the best of their abilities. I think you can attribute that to a lot of things. I think Trump said it best, actually, that, he has no real personality, and the personality that you could say he has, it's just not likable. Like, he's just really not a likable person at all. And, his politics, his personal politics towards entitlements, about wokeism, his whole war on wokeism, has really just been a huge bane for him personally because it's all he talks about 24/7. If we just look at it, all the gaffes he's had recently, trying to really just appeal to that really chronically online group of people that really just care about owning the libs, that's all he really cares about, nothing about real politics or any real substance. And honestly, it's kind of shocking too, because if we go back to his 2018 campaign, well, yes, Ron DeSantis barely went across. He barely won, and you can attribute that to Trump as well for pulling him across. You can't really say the same for 2022. He did govern pretty effectively his first term, and he won resoundingly against a pretty, well, you can say pretty lukewarm Democrat. Charlie Crist did try and almost lost by, massive digits here. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing that, he was able to lose by that much being a former governor himself. And it really just cemented that that's what the electorate there wanted. You can't really say the same nowadays when we go and look at the polling from Florida. I mean, he doesn't even come close to winning the majority of the delegates in his own state. It's just embarrassing. And it is, a winner take all state. So it's like he would just have nothing to show for it. But I digress when it comes to how he's been struggling recently, because I don't think it's all just his fault. I think that a lot of it you could also say is the Trump campaign. When we look at right here, when his numbers start going down and Trump's goes up more, a lot of that's because you can't find a clip of Ron DeSantis answering a question given to him about Trump without the Trump campaign absolutely making him look like a fool and calling him out on stuff that he said in the past as well. And has really made sure that voters, steer clear of him because he looks embarrassing every single time with this constant dogpiling by Trump, who everyone knows is really good at politics. He really likes playing that game. And you're going against somebody who, while he hasn't done good in the past with his electoral politics, he's in his prime again right now. And honestly, these numbers show that the electability is on Trump's side. When we look at places, when we look through some of these polls we have, there's not a single one where Trump isn't, massively winning by 20 plus points almost. But you do have is DeSantis almost going into third place in a couple of them. Nikki Haley coming up right on him in South Carolina in some polls. She is ahead of him. This Fox Business poll that came out, she's ahead of him by 1 point, which, it just goes to show the establishment is breaking and looking for other people like Tim Scott or Nikki Haley to take his place. And honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, when we really go and look at all this stuff for DeSantis, I mean, this is the map we have after Nevada if everyone drops out but the two. And this is all he has to show for it right now in the polling. I mean, these are massive 2-digit leads that Trump has. And while you can make the argument that he had these leads in some places in 2016, and he did lose some states, quite a few actually, to, Ted Cruz and the likes. I mean, this time around, DeSantis, the ball was in his court after 2022, and this is all he has to show for it. All he had to do was run a center-right campaign as, the I'm Trump, but with none of the Trump baggage. And he decided, I'm actually going to run to the right of Trump and look like a complete fool and make myself, completely stand out as this person who's unelectable. And honestly, a lot of this polling that DeSantis had kind of reminds me of like a Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio scenario where, he polled high and he has lots of funding from the establishment class, but they're kind of pulling away from him because there's no voter base that's really there outside of Florida and, maybe, some of these other like little states he might win, but it's just not there for him. And I think that we'll end up seeing a lot of that support start going towards other people. Because, like, there was a point in time where if you go back during the Ron DeSantis, unofficial campaign or whatever, from December all the way up to like February, he didn't say a whole lot about Trump. He was not like this huge anti woke, liberalism guy, and he polled pretty good. Everyone was for him. Oh, he's next Trump, and then boom, huge nosedive. And I think a lot of that you can also say is because there are other candidates that are out there that the establishment and people who don't want Trump, they're just more likable. Honestly, I mean, go watch a Tim Scott interview, and he's a million times more charismatic, has way more, going for him in that department. His politics are kind of in line with Ron DeSantis, but, he doesn't go out of his way to try to alienate voters like Ron DeSantis does. You shouldn't be the governor of somewhere telling people not to come live in your state. Like, that's a little weird. But it's also more embarrassing when you look at the, favorability polling we have here that, like, people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who any poll that has him higher than, like, 5% are all online polls, and his whole voter base is online. He's kind of like the Andrew Yang of the Republican Party. And even he is coming up on the same favorability rating as, a current standing governor, which could be embarrassing for Ron DeSantis, honestly. And well, you could say the same for Trump. He's always going to have like the same unfavorability rating. I think that there's a few states that honestly he'll be able to really take from Trump, but I think it won't matter in the end. And I think after Nevada, a lot of these, never Trumpers will start backing off of DeSantis and try to find someone different. I think, personally, in my prediction, that it'll be Tim Scott. I think he's been vying for it. He's been spending lots of money. Fox News looks like they're pulling out a lot of their money that they've been propping up Ron DeSantis. And I think they're going to honestly just shove all of that right into Tim Scott's pockets. There was some talk that maybe it'd be Chris Christie, but I don't think so because he's more of like running as just a never Trumper who wants to just bash Trump. I think he'll just be on stage fighting a lot with Vivek, and they'll just go nowhere with that. But when you compare the two visions for Tim Scott and Ron DeSantis, because they're battling for second place, honestly, Tim Scott's vision is of, this sunnier America and less focused on a war against this invisible enemy of wokeism, and he actually has substantive policy there that I think would do really well in any other kind of format their like general election than any of the stuff Ron DeSantis is doing. Because if we put Ron DeSantis against Biden, he's already alienated so much of the voter base, but who's going to want to vote for him besides like hardliners, And I think that honestly, in the end, DeSantis' campaign will be a study case on just how badly someone with a huge, huge lead and pretty much had the heir to the throne can just throw it all away. And I think Chris Christie said it best after the latest campaign stuff from Ron DeSantis with the Nazi imagery, that when he says, "Oh, I didn't know, I didn't do it, I wasn't involved," those aren't words of a leader. And if Trump had those things, he'd come out and say, "Hey, I fired those people, they're awful, and let's just move on." It was stupid. But Ron can't do that. He has more, bobblehead Ron. He's out there moving all weird. And that's just how it is sometimes, I guess. And I think that he's just, overall, he's done. I think we'll see after maybe Iowa, he'll drop out. Maybe after Nevada, honestly. But yeah, that's where I think everything's going right now. And I just think that everyone should be aware that, DeSantis is out the door almost. After, months and months of propping up this guy, the establishment will look for someone new. And that's just where I am at right now. So thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you all so much.